Excelentísimos ministros, excelentísimos embajadores, mi buen amigo Sebastián Esquerer, señoras y señores, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Madrid, the headquarters of the World Tourism Organization. We're proud and happy to see you this morning here at the eve of one of the most important tourism events, the V Tour, that will be inaugurated and opened tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I would like to share with you some very important personal thoughts on an issue that we have been living against the background of yet another disaster in Haiti, where the people of Haiti, this very important and precious Caribbean destination, have suffered from one of the most devastating humanitarian catastrophes that we have seen in our lifetime. It is important to extend our solidarity, our condolences, and our warm feelings to the people of Haiti. We know very well that tourism can, when the right time comes, play the right role in the recovery and the reconstruction of this very precious and important destination. In particular, the United Nations has suffered one of the greatest losses in human casualties in this catastrophe. Over 130 personnel from the United Nations are still unaccounted for, in addition to the tens of thousands of the Haitians and many, many of the visitors to that country. As in many other cases, we are constantly in touch with the UN Disaster Center, and we will be playing our role as a sector and as an industry when the right time comes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are meeting here today amid the background of still very uncertain circumstances. We need to look together at the post-crisis scenario, but only because we're beginning to see some signs of bottoming out and some signs of recovery. We need to discuss together how the tourism industry can indulge into a more competitive and a more sustainable future. In order to do that, I will attempt in the few minutes that I am allotted to speak to you to do three things. One is to answer the question, how bad was it? How bad is it still? Second, what have we learned from this? And third, where do we go from here? How bad was it? Very bad. 2009, in accordance with a press release that we have issued yesterday, 24 hours ago, that was the first account for the record of 2009, confirmed that 2009 was probably the worst year in tourism performance record for decades. Indeed, our generation, the generation mostly represented in this hall, has not seen a worse year. Minus 4%, a negative 4% growth, 4.1 to be precise, was the closing record of the initial estimates of 2009 on a global level. It still is slightly better, and it did recover faster, particularly in the last quarter of 2009, than we had earlier predicted and forecasted in October of 2009, where we projected a 5% negative growth. Yet, it still remains the worst year in decades. 880 million international visitors crossed international borders. The last quarter of 2009 was the only quarter where we have seen an upsurge of less than 1%. The first quarter, second, and third were consecutively -10, -7, and -2. But there seems to be reason for optimism. The IMF have issued a week ago its forecast, and it also has indicated that world economy, and they used the word significantly, improved faster and stronger than expected. Our particular problem was also aggravated by the uncertainty surrounded by the H1N1 flu that hit us in the mid of 2009. All in all, making it one of the toughest years ever. Yet, our figures also indicate that the results of the last quarter of 2009 are likely to extend themselves to 2010. Now adjusting our forecast for 2010 to make it 2 to 3%, most likely 3% positive growth, and hopefully even return to the average normal growth of the 25 years forecast for 2020, which is about 4%. This is consistent with the IMF projections of 3.1% for the economy, as tourism has always been 1 to 2 steps ahead. On the tourism receipts side, the yields and the earnings, we have, as usual, suffered more than tourism arrivals. It has been historically correct that when tourism arrivals are bad, tourism receipts are 1 to 2 points below. When tourism arrivals are on the positive side, tourism receipts are 1 to 2 points ahead. Therefore, our initial indications with regard to tourism receipts are showing that we may be closing the year, we may have been closed the year of 2009 at a negative 6% global tourism receipts. This is also a very, very negative result. Yet, if seen against the background of other sectors' performances, and if we note that the overall global exports have slumped down 12%, we are doing better. Half of that damage has been contained by our industry. This is an important point because the record has always been showing that the performance of tourism is and should continue to be ahead of economics performances. And countries where indications are that their tourism performance is behind the economic performance are countries that need to worry and think twice. And I believe we will come back to this point later on. Again, our results indicated what we had forecasted, that the trends in travel and tourism have changed. There is a paradigm shift. People are definitely traveling closer to home. As a matter of fact, domestic tourism has seen a significant rise in 2009. Big countries, particularly like China, Brazil, India, Spain, have consolidated their domestic tourism results, and this has indicated a new attention that should be paid to domestic tourism. Another very important indicator is the index of confidence. Our panel of experts have indicated that the consumer's confidence has risen considerably. Those that have marked better or much better for 2010 vis-à-vis 2009 constitute 62% of those asked. 31% think that things are going to be the same in 2010, and only 7% have indicated that things are going to get worse. Important here is to recognize that the IMF has called the year 2010, like we have tried to label earlier in October, the year of transformation. Not the year of transition, not the year of recovery, but the year of transformation, because there is an acknowledgement that their changes, the social and economic changes, have been so grave that there must be a need for a paradigm shift and not a return to the crisis before the crisis. Still, our forecast is indicating that we have 3 very serious challenges to look ahead at. Unemployment has hit our industry very bad, like it has hit other sectors. We have lost very precious human resources as a result of the closure down of many small and medium and sometimes large industries, and we need to develop policies that can handle that. We can be seeing a situation where there will be economic and, of course, tourism growth on one side and unemployment growth going on hand in hand and in parallel. We are also very concerned and worried about the issue of public deficit. This could result in governments being tempted to prematurely withdraw from their support and from their stimulus packages and or impose undue, untimely taxes on our industry, which could have serious negative effects. Last but not least, although we have been able as a human community to manage the H1N1 crisis, yet the risk is not over, and the possibility of a rebound can have devastating effect on our industry. This is generally a sketch of 2009 and a forecast for 2010, a very preliminary one. Yet, we need to take a stand and try to list what are the lessons that came out of all of this. I am going to very quickly just label some of them, and I hope that in the course of the discussions throughout the day, this very important day, we will be discussing more in depth. First of all, it is clear that tourism and travel is here to stay. Tourism has withheld, tourism has proved flexibility, and tourism has clearly shifted from the realm of discretionary expenditure into expenditures of necessity. People will continue to travel. They will simply shift trends and norms. Number two, that tourism has proven that it can and it should perform better than the overall economy, although it is very dependent on economic performance. Number three, that our industry has been able to pull it together, but it is still in bad need of speaking at one and being perceived as one. We are still being seen as a fragmented industry, where the fragments and the parts are sometimes even more visible and stronger than the totality. Number four, our industry is still in bad need of acknowledgement. In all the discussions among circles beyond circles of tourism, political decision-making circles, tourism is absent. There is great work that needs to be done in the realm of establishing what is a reality on the ground. Number five, we are not yet in the center of world concern. We are not connected yet to the major challenges of the globe, to the millennium challenges. We are not yet seen as a good, effective, and powerful player in poverty alleviation, in combating climate challenge, and in addressing the challenge of work and employment. Three issues that we must strive to position our industry in the heart of. Number six, and in spite of our flexibility and intelligent and smart performance, on the private sector side, we are still seeing a huge and significant number of outdated business models that need to be revisited. And on the public sector, there is a grave absence of clear public sector policies and weak public tourism administration. Number seven, our industry is not yet caught up with the changes that are around it in other fields and other realms. One, technological changes, especially ICT, electronic technologies, and two, the changes in the profile and in the culture of travelers. Number eight, a very important lesson is that many countries that had taken specific, bold, and aggressive measures have made a difference, and that not all destinations reacted in the same way, and that effective, bold, committed, and aggressive measures do make a difference, and we have evidence for that. Last but not least, the lesson we learned is that intergovernmental, interregional cooperation can now produce positive results as opposed to competing, negative, petty competition as such, but rather coherence in regional and sub-regional policies had made it a win-win situation to many destinations, as well as the well-tested and proven public-private partnership becoming an essential key in all of this. This is but a general interpretation of what we came out of from this crisis. In conclusion and in brief, the way forward is to establish and commit ourselves to make the year 2010 a truly transformational year for our industry. The shift in paradigm that has become a reality must be completely comprehended and understood by us, and we must project ourselves as leaders in this world and not leaders in this industry only. We must address the double challenge of the economy and the ecology and see it as two sides of the same coin, one that has to think of the world in a different way and advance it towards the transformation to the green economy, the only way into the future that is feasible and sustainable. Last but not least, we must aggressively speak outside our closed circles. We must be placed on the national and global agenda. This is a task that both the public and the private sector must take on board. We must make the world understand that tourism means jobs, means trade, means infrastructure, means development. We must lead the transformation and not sit and be behind, particularly on issues of climate and in the economic realm. My last words will have to be to Spain. And I'm extremely impressed, and I was very delighted to hear you, Sebastian, speaking in such depth and knowledge about an issue that is concerned to many of us here. Spain is very important to us. Spain is not by accident the host and the seat for the only UN organization headquartered here. Spain is a world leader. The health of the tourism industry in Spain is a health to the tourism industry internationally. I would urge you and encourage you to use this opportunity and the days to come to engage with your Spanish counterparts and to help us help them, to help us in turn, to turn the page here in Spain and to move towards a direction that can result in positive results in 2010. It is not acceptable to have tourism in performance lag behind economic performance in a country like Spain or in any other mature established European destinations. We should always, always make sure that tourism is one step ahead. We should encourage Spain now as a president of the EU and a major player in the world tourism to lead the way in continuing the political commitment and never withdraw from the support and the stimulus packages and the declared political intention to support this industry. Ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome to Madrid. I wish you a very fruitful, useful, beneficial day today and an extremely engaging week in Fitur. These are important times, as somebody said, the best of times, the worst of times, but indeed the most exciting times. Thank you very much, muchas gracias, and all the best.